HarperCollins presents Downfall, The Self-Destruction of the Tory Party by Nadine Dorries, read by Lucy Price-Lewis. In politics, it's the anonymous plotters you have to watch out for. I could never quite shake the feeling of vulnerability. David Cameron, for the record. Note to the reader. This book was printed in October 2024 and should be read in that context. In an ever-changing political landscape, some of the events covered will, no doubt, have developed further since going to print, including the confirmation of a new leader of the Conservative Party. None of that alters the fundamental analysis of what ails the Conservative Party and the malign and continued influence of a small group of individuals, as detailed here. Prologue. I ended my first book, The Plot, with a minute-long excerpt from an interview exchange between Dominic Cummings and the BBC political journalist Laura Kuenssberg for a BBC News special on the 20th of July 2021, shortly after Cummings had been sacked from his powerful post in Number 10. I realise now that was how The Plot should have begun, and I shall rectify that error by placing the short extract below. Laura Kuenssberg. But you've just said that within months of the Prime Minister winning the biggest Conservative majority in decades, you and a few others from the Vote Leave campaign were discussing the possibility of getting rid of him, Boris Johnson. Dominic Cummings. Days, not months. LK, incredulous. Within days, not months, you were discussing getting rid of him. DC. Yes, we only got him there because we had to sort a certain problem, not because we thought he should be Prime Minister. Cummings was working as chief advisor to Boris Johnson when the Conservative Party won the 2019 election. On that victorious day, Cummings was one of the first people to congratulate Johnson as he stepped over the threshold into Number 10. Despite that, this BBC interview revealed that Cummings and others were already plotting to bring down the Prime Minister in defiance of the will of the British electorate, and even though he had just won the biggest Conservative majority since the days of Margaret Thatcher. During the course of writing The Plot, it became clear that the person they intended to replace Johnson with was Rishi Sunak. Dominic Cummings's presence in the Conservative Party was the result of a relationship with Michael Gove going all the way back to 2001. Ever since then, Cummings had worked for Gove, or Gove for Cummings. No one is quite sure which way around it worked. Despite the protection of Gove, Cummings was widely regarded as a destructive and chaotic force. When David Cameron appointed Gove to the role of Education Secretary, Cummings travelled to Downing Street with Gove as he always did. In fact, Cummings insisted that he attend meetings the Prime Minister held with Gove. As though Gove were a child, not to be trusted to speak up for himself. On this occasion, Cameron refused. Cummings was left sitting outside the room where Cameron told Gove that he could not have Cummings working for him. Gove pleaded that he could not possibly do the job without Cummings, but the appointment was blocked by Cameron's head of communications, Andy Coulson. Coulson suspected that a meeting held between Cameron, George Osborne, Gove and Cummings had been leaked to the media by Cummings, and that he was not a suitable advisor to make the transition from opposition to government. Cameron famously described Cummings as a career psychopath and cited him as someone who gave bilious briefings to the media. He also noted in his memoirs how often in Cabinet the details of meetings attended by Gove found their way into the newspapers, most notably The Times. 3 months after the appointment of Cummings as Gove's SPAD, Special Advisor, was blocked, Coulson was forced to resign from his post in 10 Downing Street, after facing hostile briefings and media scrutiny for his role in the phone hacking scandal in his former role as editor of the News of the World. With Coulson gone, Cummings walked into the Department for Education and took up his familiar place at Gove's side. Dougie Smith
Sample complete. Ready to continue?